Welcome to the Cult Classic Horror Show. Every week, you can have the conversations you've always wanted to have about the films you love.
Shut up!
We're gonna get you, not another peep.
Get rid of your distractions and prepare yourself.
Then lock your door. 5, 6, gonna crucifix.
You got a big surprise coming to you. You're not going anywhere.
Welcome everybody to the Cult Classic Horror Show. Danny Bonin here with you.
And Scotty Bonin with you guys.
We are
the Blood Brothers.
And we have a very special guest with us on the line today. Today we are interviewing Charlie Steeds, director, pretty much everything having to do with his film Cannibal Farm. Welcome, Charlie.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. Now, we just watched this a couple weeks ago, and
yes, we did.
Yeah, and I do mean I just said the everything because what you directed, you edited, you produced.
Pretty much everything apart from the camera and the lighting and the acting and the music, but pretty much everything else. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, pretty much everything else.
That's
what
awesome.
A task for you to take on. That's awesome that you put so much into this.
Before we get into it, if you guys are listening and trying to Google things, in the U.S. it is Cannibal Farm, and it is releasing in the U.K. this month, and it is called Escape from Cannibal Farm in the U.K., so make sure you type that in. Well, cool. Well, yeah, before we get into the film itself, I always like to just sort of ask, Charlie, how long have you been doing this? What even got you started into filmmaking?
Sure. Well, I've always wanted to do film. Went to film school, came out of film school, and basically, I just didn't know where to even start. Like a lot of people, I imagine. Yeah. You just don't know how to even break in or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I basically scraped together a tiny little bit of money and went and shot something that was feature length, trying to make it like my first feature. And, it came out all right. It's a very, very low budget movie, but then it got picked up for distribution and stuff. I'm not going to tell you the name of it because I don't want anyone to go and see it,
Of course. I have those too.
Yeah, exactly. But, when it came out and it actually was distributed, I was like, oh, I can already sort of get stuff out there on DVD. Well, in that case, why don't I try a little bit harder and make what, my passion is, which is horror.
Awesome.
And scrape together not that much more money, but a bit more, and properly put the effort into Escape from Cannibal Farm. So that was sort of like, the way it got started, yeah.
Okay, so technically Cannibal Farm here is your second feature then, right?
Yeah, but what I say, if I'm talking about it on the internet, I say it's my first horror film.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
all right, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, leave it at that.
That's so cool.
We won't mention the other one.
So you love horror just as much as we do. So did you grow up being like a horror fan? Were you like fans of like horror movies
I
and stuff?
think that we can, I'm going to, before you answer that, I'm going to say, obviously this movie has a heavy influence by the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series.
Oh yeah.
But besides that, besides that, was that one of your favorite franchises growing up, or how'd you get introduced to horror?
I did come to horror kind of late because I was always absolutely petrified of anything horror. So even up into the age of about, I would say maybe 14, which I think is fairly late, I was terrified of anything. So when like the advert came on the telly for The Ring or The Grudge, I would just be absolutely terrified of it. And it wasn't until I was not allowed to watch 18s. My mum was very strict. I couldn't watch 18s until I was 18.
Wow.
So it was around the time when I was 15 that I just took her credit card details on Amazon and I just ordered Halloween and The Evil Dead and stuff like that, and got in loads of trouble for it. But that was the first time I got to watch those films, and that was also the time I started to start playing around with making short films and writing stuff and properly getting into it. So I guess I've always been inspired by horror, and then since then, I'm just a total horror geek, basically.
It's awesome.
That's great. I'm really glad you mentioned Evil Dead. That's like my top of the top.
Yeah.
We are very big Evil Dead fans for sure. One of our favorites.
That's awesome. So, a lot of the fans listening to this also are aspiring filmmakers. I don't know if I should say a lot, but some are. And and I know even us as aspiring filmmakers, starting out this for Cannibal Farm, you said you scraped together a little bit bigger of a budget. Now, did you spend a decent amount of your own money that you had saved on this? Did you have help from friends and family, or did you just pretty much go the route of you found a few investors that you weren't even that familiar with?
This was all my own money for this film. So basically, to make this movie, what I did was I had a pretty decent job doing like sort of video stuff. I worked in that job for about 6 months. It was basically my first proper job. Sure. And I saved up all the money I could while I was there. And then with that money I saved up at the job, I then moved out of my house, or stopped paying rent and just moved off and couch surfed basically while I shot the film and then edited the film. And all my stuff just went into storage. Wow. And I just spent every single penny I had. And then when it got to the end of this film, I had no job and no house and no money, but I did have the film, and
awesome.
The way to do it.
That is commitment right there. I commend your.
So I'm guessing you were scrambling for a job again just to stock up.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, no, that's truly an independent film then.
But you had a complete film out there, and that is what makes dreams come true. So that's freaking awesome.
Now it's starting to touch on the film a little bit. It does seem like. You did have to spend some money on effects, or at least know some people who knew what they were doing, or fiddle with it a lot yourself. Did you end up using a lot of the budget for that?
Well, really, the thing, in terms of budget and stuff, the strong points of this film is that we found amazing locations. Mm-hmm. I didn't pay for a single location. It was all just I went to people or I knew people through family or friends of friends, and I just managed to get the location and say, hey, I'm going to be here for a week, shooting this bit, and just sort of managed to get the farm and the farmhouse. Like I show up at this farm and I'm saying, I want to make a horror film. Do you have any sort of areas of this farm that you never use? And they take me into this sort of creepy old farmhouse, and they open the door. They're like, yeah, nobody comes in here. And there's animal heads on the walls and stuffed animals in cages. And then you got this old wooden staircase, and then up on the top floor there's Evil Dead style trap door, and goes up into this creepy attic room with all sort of old wooden beams with children's drawings on the wall and all this sort of stuff. I mean, I couldn't have, not much budget could have ever got that.
Yeah, that's jackpot. Everything you want in a location to your hands right there. Oh my God.
Exactly. So that was something that was great and really helped us along. And then my cinematographer is really good and owns a lot of his own kit and stuff, so that was all cool. And then the effects, I mean, we didn't have a makeup artist, we didn't have really much of a crew even for the whole film, so all of the effects really were just done by me. Wow. In terms of blood, and it's all sort of just homemade blood. It's just proper DIY filmmaking, this one.
Yeah, wow. So speaking of timelines, you said, hey, can I use this room for a week? Before principal photography, how How long did it take you to write? Was this something you had been writing for a long time, or is it something you had the opportunity and threw it together real quick?
It's something that sort of just I can't really remember exactly like what it was that sparked off the idea, but I basically I love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films. Like, obviously, if you watch this film, you know I love them, and I just thought there's been nothing in Britain really the like, you know. I'm inspired by a lot of these American horror movies.
Sure.
We don't have a hell of a lot of sort of really good British horror movies. So here I am wanting to do something, you know, rough and sort of a bit handheld and gritty like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But I'm not in America. I don't have Texas. But I was wondering, could I make where I'm from, you know, the countryside in England, actually scary in the same way? I mean, or how would it turn out? I basically just wanted to know. So that was the idea, basically. And the previous film that I'd shot, the film that we don't speak about, I shot the whole film in sets that I'd built, and I built these sets on a farm. And the sets, if anyone ever sees that film, like the sets are all really tiny. And I remember a lot of the time just thinking, I should have just written a film to be on the farm, because I was on an amazing farm. It was a really beautiful location. And here we were shoved in a cowshed, filming in these tiny little sets that I'd built. And I just thought, you know what? I should have just written something for this farm. So those two ideas together, that wanting to do something like Texas Chainsaw, and also I knew I could get a farm. That's kind of, I thought, you know, it's doable. Okay. With my resources. So that's basically what I went and did. Yeah.
Nice. And did it take you very long to write the actual screenplay then?
It probably took me, I mean, I'm not sure, maybe 3 or 4 months. You know, it was quite a long screenplay. It was like 125 pages maybe. And my first cut of the film was about 117 minutes, and it's now been cut down to 101 minutes.
Wow.
Okay.
So I kind of went a little bit crazy and just started writing this whole huge thing, really, you know.
Nice. You might as well start big rather than going small, you know. Yeah, that's a better way to do it.
So then on the timeline of things, you started shooting, was it about a week for principal photography, or did you shoot longer?
No, we shot for 22 days. And basically, my mistake that I'd made was that we shot for 22 days just in a row without any breaks.
Wow.
Which it just never occurred to me that I should schedule in a break. You know, I just thought, what's the shortest time I could actually film the thing? 22 days. That means I only need to tell the actors that they're going to be there for 22 days. But there was no break. So by like day 20, it really felt like we'd been doing the film for a lifetime.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Gosh.
Wow. And so you must have had enthusiastic actors then that were willing to work with you.
I did. I mean, the cast of the film, I mean, to be honest, everybody who worked on this film in particular, because it was the first time for a lot of us that we were going out and, you know, just making this like old school feeling horror movie. Everyone was just so excited for it. It's still probably, even though it was a very, very difficult shoot, being 22 days without any breaks, it was really fun. There was a sense of it really felt like we were doing something, you know, unique and special.
Yeah. It's just fun being out there and doing it and getting covered with like blood and being outside and using the chainsaw. You know, it's just
living the dream.
There is something that's just awesome about that. I love it too. And just the nitty gritty raw feel. That's my type of horror movie too. And that's why I like this too a lot. So
yeah.
But yeah, you get. I thought the cast was great. You had a really like all-star cast. I mean, I like the dad played by Toby, the Wesley.
I think Toby was my favorite. He probably did the best job. I think. Yeah,
but I like the mom too, Catherine Harver, and played by Rowena Bentley, and then obviously the lead, Kate Davies Speak, that played Jessica Harver. She was awesome. I've to ask you, is Kate Davies Speak related to Toby Wynn Davies?
No, she isn't. It's just they just happen to have the surname. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. I wanted to just ask that just to see. So
did did you hold like a formal casting for this, or did you know a lot of these people already?
Well, Kate, I had written the part specifically for because she was in my previous film.
Okay.
And then Barrington, who plays Hansen, the creepy long-haired farmer, he'd been acting with me even since my short films when I was at film school. So some of them came with me just because I wanted to use them again. But even the way I met those people it's all through, auditions and proper castings. And then we held proper castings for this film and ended up with the cast that we had. And I mean, they all just, considering that the film was, very low budget and, very sort of DIY filmmaking, everybody really was so dedicated to it. Every single actor in the film just was putting in so much energy, which just makes it so much easier and so much more fun,
Oh yeah, definitely. When you got everyone's commitment and they're in just have fun too, it's not like it's work. Yeah. That is so cool. Yeah.
So we talked a little before this, and you mentioned that it's been out in US for since January now. Was that shortly after you completed it, or has it been completed for a while?
It was fairly quickly after I'd completed it. I mean, so since Cannibal Farm, I've actually shot 3 more feature films because I completed the film in. We shot it in June 2 years ago, and then I completed it probably about, let's say 2 years ago today was probably around the time I completed it. I then held like some cast and crew and family and friends screenings, and then wanted to cut out a further about another 15 minutes of the film because it needed to be shorter in places. And then basically I could have sent it all off to the sales and distribution people then, but I then went off to France to shoot my next film. So I basically just got caught up in my own workflow, basically. And it wasn't until I got back from shooting that whole film that I sent this one off. So that would have been about March of last year. And then it came out first in October in Scandinavia, and then the US in January, and then has slowly been coming out in different places since then. So it's been an all right speed, really. But one thing I did was as soon as I finished shooting it, I edited a trailer together. So right away, over 2 years ago, the trailer came out and started getting hype on the internet. And there was a time when it really picked up, a lot of hype because someone had taken the trailer and re-edited it to say that at the end of the trailer it said Leatherface instead of Escape from Cannibal.
Oh, jeez.
So people thought it was, maybe this like hidden trailer of the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And then that got like 5 million views on the internet, and I don't know if it was good publicity or bad publicity, to be honest. But, so yeah.
Any publicity is good. I think, I mean,
that's great. So that's awesome that now there's been 3 more features. Have those been again projects of yours, or where you've had to put up a lot of the money, or is that something where now you're getting a little more experience and you're able to go work on others' projects and things?
Well, pretty swiftly from just showing people Cannibal Farm and showing people the trailer, people have been sort of getting involved with my movies and funding them. I'm still kind of making them in the way I want to make them, which is that I do a lot of the stuff, I'm writing it, directing it, producing it, and editing it is still pretty much 100% my show. It's just that, I've got other investors involved now so that we can do it on a sort of grander scale. That's great. And, instead of waiting for Escape from Cannibal Farm to come out on DVD and see if it was a success or not, like I said, I just jumped straight in and started making another film, which is, bigger and better. And that's actually out later this year in the US. It's called The House of Violent Desire.
Yes. Oh, nice.
And a totally different style to Escape from Cannibal Farm, because The House of Violent Desire is very grand and gothic, and it's a period film. It's sort of like a mystery, sort of ghost story, psychological sort of thing. So just totally different in every way, basically.
Which is kind of cool. It variates. You can make, one side of this film from Escape from Cannibal Farm and make a total flip side, completely different film.
Exactly.
Which
and were they
so versatile?
And you obviously jumped on these. Were these scripts that you had ideas waiting in the wings already, or did you just flesh them out right away?
Well, the House of Violent Desire came about actually because somebody said to me that I could use this location if I wanted to. And the location was this, it's a medieval castle in the south of France. It's just humongous. And so we flew out there to have a look at it, and it just looked insane. It just gave so much production value. You could literally get lost in this castle. It was that big, and also creepy. And fully furnished in every antique and sort of so much production value. So I then wrote the script specifically to that location. So that was the House of Violent Desire.
Wow.
And then the film I made after that is a film called The Barge People, which wasn't actually my script. It was when I was on the set of Escape from Cannibal Farm, the actress Kate said to me, from looking at what we were shooting and the whole style of it, she said that she'd read a script that a friend of hers had given her, and actually I'd be a really good match for that movie because it's kind of like The Hills Have Eyes. But
I've somehow seen it must have been, I don't know if it was you or whoever was in contact with me, but I have seen a preview for that, so it looked really good.
The trailer's going around. So that was basically a script that I read it and I just thought, this is like monsters on the canal. It's like a 80s VHS gore movie. It's totally up my street. So I just thought, great, I can do this. So we basically got investors involved, got the funds for that, and went and shot that one. And then the film I did after that, which is a film called Winter Skin, which I shot in January this year, which is a sort of snowbound thriller set in a snowy log cabin, mostly just two actors confined in the space, a little bit like the film Misery. It's that sort of a thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
And in fact, it was two of the actors who are in it are also in Escape from Cannibal Farm, which is David Lennox, who plays the younger brother in Escape from Cannibal Farm, and Rowena Bentley, who plays the mother. So they're basically playing these two characters locked in this sort of very intense battle in this cabin.
Wow.
That film is actually going to be retitled, I think, in the US, but it's out early next year. And I'm not allowed to release a trailer yet, but I think the trailer will probably be out this winter.
Wow.
For people to see. But basically with that film, my sales agent from Escape from Cannibal Farm, they wanted to fund something for me, and they were giving me all these ideas, and the ideas they kept involving CGI, and I kept saying that I didn't want to do anything with CGI.
Sure.
And eventually they just said, well, we want to fund something for you. Like, do you have any ideas? And I was like, are you kidding? Of course I have ideas. I have a script that I've finished. I've just finished it. It's called Winter Skin. It's a little bit like Misery. And that was it. It was that simple. They said, yeah, we'll have it,
That's great.
Wow.
So we went out and shot that. So, so far I've not done anything that wasn't 100%. I just had an idea one day. Oh, I'd love to do a film like this. And that's what I've just done. I've been lucky enough to get those off the ground.
And just started writing and just putting your ideas to work. And that's the way to do it, man.
That sounds like it's been an exciting thrill ride for you so far.
Yeah.
And it's cool getting these like locations, like you're talking about the castle. That's just, you don't need there's no crew that needs to go in there and like touch things up and make it look creepy. Yeah. It's already creepy, and that's
exactly, yeah.
And just like at the farmhouse.
The cabin sounds like my kind of thing too. That not to get off subject, but that must have been. Did you actually shoot when it was snowy and cold outside? So it was.
So the cabin is kind of the opposite to the a castle, actually, because when I wrote the script, most of the script is set inside this cabin. So because the film is all set in there, I had a very, very specific idea of the layout, how I wanted it to look, what furniture was in there. So we actually built the cabin as a set completely from scratch.
Wow.
So the whole, I mean, it was a huge, I mean, I suppose it wasn't a huge set because it's only a cabin, but I mean, this is a cabin with 2 floors. It's got sort of like a balcony level where there's an upstairs bedroom. And the whole set was also built a couple of feet above the ground because there's a trapdoor in the floor that characters go in and out of. And also so that we could get underneath the set to get shots from beneath. Wow. So, we built that entire cabin, the interior, from scratch. So everything was completely by design. And then for the exterior, we flew out to the north of Finland, and we're actually in the snow. I chose Lapland in Finland because the snow is just like huge there. It's, comes above your waist, and it's all like just trees and wilderness. And I found this really, really creepy little wooden cabin just in the middle of the woods, and it was just perfect. I literally found it on the internet, managed to get in contact with the owner and said, look, we'll pay you to come and stay in the cabin and film there, and that was fine. So we went and did that.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Wow. Well, that's great. So are you, I mean, are you have some more projects on the horizon already right now then?
Yeah. So, I mean, I plan them sort of quite far in advance. I already know, I know 2 films I'm shooting for definite next year, which, 2 is probably enough to fill my time, but there's a third one I'd like to sneak in there if I can get it in there. And I'm shooting another film later this year. So
that's great.
Busy stuff, yeah.
Yeah, keep busy. That's just the way to do it. Man, especially with this horror genre. Like us as horror fans, we love watching any and every type of movie and just keep pumping them out because like there's always like you find like the good in every type of movie that we see and you can't just get stuck on one. You gotta love all of them. and
exactly.
watch all of them.
I'm sort of trying my hand at different styles, like we said, Cannibal Farm is very sort of gritty and rough, like Texas Chainsaw. House of Violent Desire is very gothic and a totally different sort of a horror film. And then Winter Skin has a lot of sort of Western influences. There's like a big Western shootout in the film. There's guns and it's American.
Oh, nice.
I'm just sort of experimenting around while I still can and while I have the freedom to do it.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm gonna have to check these films out too. Once I can get them. Get them available.
No, that's great. So, going back to Cannibal Farm, there's just, I mean, some cool stuff you did on such a low budget. I'm assuming the room you used, the room you talked about where they don't use in the farm very often was where you had everyone caged up, right?
Well, that was one of them, but the one with the animal heads is the room where, trying to think of a scene in the film where they use it. It's basically it's kind of like Hansen's headquarters. It's got this huge table in the middle.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So all of that, and then we had to obviously build the cages, and we built the sliding metal door, and we built the oven.
Okay.
So all of those things we built, and then that was on one farm. That was the only part. That was the only piece of set that was actually an entirely different farm. That was like a hour drive away. And then when they're outside in the outside bits of the farm, and they go in the sliding door, that's a completely different farm. So,
oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
I love the sliding door. It's just reminiscent.
Well,
obviously.
yeah, you gotta
just
have it
and that sound of when it closes. Oh man!
And so that oven you guys built that thing?
Yeah, so it's actually just built out of wood and spray painted.
Okay, wow. And then had obviously a flicker lighting effect going on the inside.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So you have, and then you have Hansen, which I'm certain, which I don't know, is it kind of reminiscent to Gunnar Hansen, the original Leatherface?
That was entirely the point with the surname.
Nice.
It was meant to be like a kind of a subtle homage
of course.
to the Texas Chainsaw. But then, see, this is the thing. When we actually shot the film, nobody looked at my boy with a melted face character and thought, you know what, he looks just like Leatherface. You know, nobody actually thought that, and I didn't. Like, it sounds really stupid now, but even at the time, I didn't even think that. We didn't go out onto the set and think, you know what, we're going to make this look as much like Texas Chainsaw as possible. Because we don't want to do that. Like, you know, that's not what we wanted to do. We just wanted to have some, like, you know, references, and obviously we're paying homage to the film.
Of course, which is great.
But then he turned out looking basically like Leatherface. You know, skin. Leatherface, people have been calling it on the internet. So
that's all right. You know.
Well, yeah. Well, and I don't want to give too much of the movie away either, because I know, you know, it hasn't been released in some areas, but you know, it does. I mean, I didn't get that feeling right off the bat, because, you know, you have him, you know, something bad happens in the very beginning, you know, with some fire, and then, you know, something happens to his face, and that's just, he hides his face, you know.
I mean, I got a little bit from that, and then what did it for me was, I think there was a part where they're like dragging the saw around.
That was creepy.
I was like, okay, because did they not do that in one of the Texas Chainsaws? I swear he's like dragging the saw around.
I don't remember that. Yeah, well, maybe he might, but
I mean, in my script, the character, he's supposed to have the chainsaw on the chain, so he's dragging it along. The chain is supposed to be actually bolted to his arm, like actually bolted through the bone of his arm. And in the script, he does swing it around and, you know, whip it at people and slash people. So when I came to get this chainsaw, it's a real chainsaw. And when I was looking for a secondhand chainsaws, they're actually really small. Like a regular chainsaw is not very big. Yeah. So, and I'm looking at, you know, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre front cover, and I'm thinking, no, I need a chainsaw that's this big.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't have some tiny thing. So I found the biggest chainsaw, this big rusted thing, but it was so heavy you could barely lift it. I mean,
God.
It would have been impossible to hold it in one arm. You know, you had to hold it with both arms, and you probably couldn't lift the thing above your waist. It was that heavy. So when it came to swinging it around on a chain, it just wasn't going to happen. You know?
Yeah, that thing did look huge too.
Yeah, exactly.
You found that at a secondhand store or something?
Yeah, just on the internet, just looked up chainsaw parts, and it was, you know, a not working chainsaw.
Wow.
Yeah.
was the chain, and did you guys leave the chain on it, or did you take the chain off for like safety issues, or?
So we left the chain on it, but the thing it can't start or anything. It can't. It doesn't go around.
Never was running. Okay.
No, it's just the sound effect, and then you can't really see chains going on. Yeah.
Now did you yourself do the post sound for this too?
I did, yeah.
You did? Okay.
Wow.
Cool. Wow. I was just curious about that. Oh, cool. And just for our filmmaker listeners here, what do you did you find a lot of that royalty free sounds, or were you pay a little bit for them, or did you create a lot of the Foley yourself, or how did that come about?
So most of the Foley is just created. We just did it ourselves. Either we take what we have on the set and just record Foley, or it's me in the living room making weird noises with, you know, furniture, or just whatever noises can come out of my mouth.
Nice.
And then, you know, the occasional just royalty-free sound effect from the internet. Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
So cool.
That's a DIY for sure. And I just want to know, did Kate, did she actually get in a full barrel of water and shut the lid? And
she did, yeah.
Oh my God, that was crazy.
Just hang out for a little bit, you know, just pop up if you're going to drown.
Yeah, we filled that barrel with freezing cold water, basically just out of a hose pipe on the farm. Filled it with, you know, as much fake blood and the food coloring as we possibly could.
Oh man.
And then it didn't really look red, like dark enough. So then we put loads of coffee in it to make it darker, which really stank quite a lot. And then it wasn't thick enough, so we put loads of sort of like thickening flour in there.
Jeez.
And by the end, it was just this horrible, cold, gloopy, smelly mess. And she just got in there and even puts her whole head under the water. Because I mean, there's a shot in the film inside the barrel with her.
Yeah.
And to get that shot, all we did was we just cut a hole in the actual barrel full of water and just put the camera up to the hole. So she is actually in that tiny little barrel.
I was going to wonder how you did that shot. How unique that is.
Yeah,
wow.
that's cool.
Yeah, so we kind of got in this tiny barrel with her.
Jeez.
Yeah.
She's a trooper for doing that. I mean, but like you said, like the cast had commitment and they were in it for
They did.
for just being the passionate cast members. Was the climate? How was it? Was it during the summertime you guys shot this, or was it cold or hot?
It's the only film that I've done that was nice and warm.
Nice.
So it was hot, it was sunny. I mean, probably the actors were still cold because when there's blood, it's just always cold. But the film that we shot after that, The House of Violent Desire, that was February in the south of France, and it was freezing.
Oh God, I bet.
The castle had no heating, and there's a sort of like erotic element to the film. So there's a little bit of like mild nudity. So the actors topless quite a lot, and everyone's in sort of like thin dresses and all that sort of stuff. So people were freezing on that film.
God.
And then even worse than that was Winter Skin, which we shot. Even though we shot the interiors of the cabin in England, I would say it was colder here shooting that. It was mostly night shoots as well. It was colder doing that than it was going actually to Finland and being in the snow.
Really? Was the set that you built outdoors?
It was outdoors.
Okay.
I suppose it was kind of thin wood that we built the set out of. The thing was sturdy and it stood up, but yeah, it was. You might as well have just been outdoors.
Wow.
But luckily in that, the actors, they're all wearing huge fur coats.
I would hope so.
Because it's like wintry. I wanted like the costume to be kind of excessive, like they're wearing loads of layers and leather waistcoats and then big furry coats, because I just think that looks great on camera. But the good thing from that, it being so cold, was that when they're talking and eating or drinking tea or anything like that, there's so much steam coming out of their mouth. You can really see it on the camera. Which films like The Hateful Eight, I know they had to build the sets in a refrigerated set to actually make it cold enough so that the steam would come out of their mouth. Well, we just got that for free because it was bloody freezing.
Oh, wow.
Well, did you have that issue?
Cool.
Did you have that issue on House of Violent Desires where you didn't want it coming out, but it was?
Yeah, probably. If you look closely, when the characters are sort of sat around the fire, you can probably see steam coming out of their mouth. Yeah.
Hey, well, that's great. But for like Winter Skin, that really gets you into character too. You're cold. You're supposed to be cold. You're desolate in this cabin.
It helps the actors out. It really does.
I bet it does. Yeah,
exactly.
And what did being on the farm, her jumping in a barrel of goop, a lot of fake blood everywhere. Did you guys? Were you even in close proximity to a shower or a wash basin or anything like that?
On one farm. On the main farm we shot at, they actually have a campsite there, so they have showers, just like communal showers. So that was really handy for people to just be able to go and wash. Sure.
Nice.
And then on the other farm, I can't really remember because I tend to just cool cut and that's it for the day. And then I
go
don't
home
really
and shower.
pay attention to whether when they're getting the blood off.
And were these locations for Cannibal Farm basically? You weren't having to put people up for travel or lodging. Were they all pretty near the town and where all you guys are?
No, well, actually, what happened was my grandparents were going on holiday, and my grandparents lived near the farm where we were shooting most of the film.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice.
So while they were on holiday, I said, can I have a few people around just to stay? We'll look after the place and shoot the film. And they said, that's fine. But they didn't know there was going to be like 12 of us.
Yeah, just a few of us.
And then when they got back from their holiday, we were still there for about a week. And I think my granddad still hates me. They've never forgotten it, and they've never forgiven me.
Oh, jeez. You're doing a good cause. Come on, Granddad. You're doing a good cause.
That's great.
They don't even like horror films. They don't understand the genre at all.
Oh, so God.
They come to the screening of my films. They just say, we thought it was, just mindless blood and gore and nothing. And,
yeah, of course.
That's what they think of it. So they don't even get that satisfaction.
See, they don't got the satisfaction that we horror fans get, and
that's funny. we just did a small feature, and we rented out rented out a hotel room in a small town nearby to get the creature makeup up. And I just told the lady, we're just going to be in there doing some makeup for this small film we're doing. And she thought, like just face makeup. And so when there were, 8 to 12 people at the hotel room, she just kept peeking in. What the hell's going on here?
You can't park up here. What is going on here? Yeah.
Same kind of deal. People just don't know.
Yeah.
People walking in with blood on them and stuff and coming in their house. Is that real? What's going on here? Don't worry. It's just fake. We're just shooting a movie.
That's great.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Yeah.
That's great. So a lot of them, obviously they all stayed there and used the amenities and showered.
Yeah.
Did anyone take advantage of using the motorhome / camper that you guys had in the movie?
I'm pretty sure that people did stay in it. Yeah.
Nice.
Was that something that you also got for free? Someone had that?
Yeah, so my other granddad, he had the motorhome. So
nice.
Basically, when I was writing the script, I was writing specifically for what I knew I could get. And basically, my granddad, we kind of invited him along to just be kind of an assistant on the whole film. And he kind of ended up staying for most of the shoot and really getting on with the cast and making friends with people. And everyone was like, your granddad's great. And I really didn't think he was that great until he actually came and started helping on the movie and stuff. So that was kind of nice, bringing the family together.
Yeah. Now, is he a little more into horror?
He's a little bit more into it, yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
That makes sense then.
So it sounds by like the sound of it that everyone was helping doing everything to it. It was like a team effort for the whole entire movie, even the cast helping too, huh?
Yeah, it's exactly like that. And, even when we went and did the House of Violent Desire in France, my auntie flew out for half of the shoot, and then my mum flew out for the other half of the shoot to basically do all of the catering and the laundry and look after everyone. So it's proper, family affair, really. Everyone likes to come and get involved and help out.
That's so cool.
That's
so cool. Yeah, because you got to deal with feeding the cast, and you got to deal with making sure that you get the same set of clothes for the next shooting day, because with continuity issues and stuff. So that's so cool.
Out of the costumes and
yeah. Gosh. It all just you got to think about everything. Wow, there's so much good that has to go into it.
Yeah. Gosh, well, I'm trying to think if I had other specific scenes that I just the barrel one caught my eye. That's awesome. You built that oven. The cages are great.
I don't want to give a lot of it away. I could spout out like 4 or 5 scenes that I really love, but if we want to, keep it from some of the listeners,
people to go watch it,
Yeah.
So we want them to check it out.
I mean, there's a lot of good, brutal horror stuff that you guys will love. A lot of limbs that might come off, fingers and stuff. So you guys need to just check this out.
A throwback to Texas Chainsaw, but also a different vibe, because I find it to be, at least in my opinion, when I watched it, a lot more a little bit campy, You have a couple of these characters that that are sort of crazy, sort of kooky. I mean, you have Peter Cosgrove, who played Everett, and did. He just has a great look. First of all, just looking at him,
he had such a good look.
Looks like he belongs in Game of Thrones or something.
He was
like
crazy.
That, he has just a great.
look. I found him when I was casting. Actors were writing to me, and he's someone who wrote to me, and I sort of went on his YouTube channel, and he's got some videos on there. At the time he had some videos on there. There's a lot of them, and they didn't have that many views, 8 views, 9 views.
Yeah.
And I'm clicking through them, and there's just this beardy, long-haired, crazy Irish man doing these insane, evil monologues down the camera, down the webcam. And I just thought, this man is crazy. He's a serial killer or something.
Yeah.
And basically, I just thought, I need this guy to basically come and play this part. And then before he arrived on set, I was showing these YouTube videos to the actors, and everybody was just terrified that this man was. I'd never met him before. He was just coming over from Ireland. I'd booked him a flight. He was coming to stay with us. And in fact, on the first day when he stayed with us, we got him accommodation away from the rest of us.
Gosh.
Because everyone was scared. But he's
just
actually
in case.
this guy. Yeah.
Well, he came off that way in the film too, so it was very
he has
good.
a great look. He reminds me of like Eric Bana, sort of, when you look at his face.
Yeah.
But no, he has a great look. And so my point is that like him and what was it, Barrington or
Yes, yeah.
they have these characters that are so unique and almost over the top, but not really, because it sort of matches the campiness of the film, where So it just has a different vibe, and yeah, I guess you do get that a little in Chainsaw Massacre with Grandpa and a couple of them, especially in like my
the Hitchhiker,
especially my favorite that everyone disagrees with me, Next Generation with Matthew McConaughey going crazy. That's like my favorite. Texas Chainsaw.
I love that one. God,
but no, so it's I do like the feel it has going for it.
And then with this sweet family coming in, and it's creepy too, because everyone has a family, and it's like, what the hell if this happens to my family? How the hell? I don't know.
I'm a newer parent, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, so it's like, fuck, man. But it's that's what wraps you in, though. It definitely wrapped me in.
Some cool visuals too. So yeah, cinematography was definitely on point for it. I thought.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. Yeah.
And just have the beautiful countryside too, and just outdoor and the indoor mix was awesome.
Yeah.
But one of the things I was really trying to do with it is when it comes to backward slasher movies, they're kind of all the same. It's always just a group of people in a car or RV or whatever, going somewhere, out in the wilderness or somewhere remote, and they always bump into the guy on the side of the road at like an old petrol station or something. Yeah. It's just all these tropes. They just all these cliches. They just always happen. And I thought, if I'm gonna write something that is basically like a British backward slasher, how do I avoid these tropes or make these tropes interesting? And basically what I decided was, everyone going into this film, I knew they would basically think, right, this looks like a British rip-off of the Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah. So I thought for the first half an hour, I'm going to give you basically a rip-off of, any old backward slasher movie, The Hills Have Eyes or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They're going to run into the guy on the side of the road. It's the same old cliches. Yeah. But I thought, this is what I tried to do anyway, was I wanted to use these cliches to mislead the audience. Sure. So when they meet Hansen for the first time, he's kind of acting like this crazy old man on the side of the road, but he's just playing pretend. He is not that character at all. And the same with you think, oh yeah, this is just crazy farmer on this farm, crazy skin face man with a chainsaw on this farm. Well, that's basically not all there is to them. That's the least important part. That's the part that is gonna mislead you into thinking that it's that simple. And then I'm hoping that people are interested enough in the film when they're watching it to go, actually, there's twists and turns, and this isn't that. And actually, the story is nothing like Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
It's just leading you into sort of a false, I want to catch you off guard. Really.
Well, and
that was what I was trying to do.
I totally agree with you.
And
yeah.
it does have a certain twist, and I don't, without giving too much away, I mean, Hansen goes through this large character arc where you almost feel for him at the end, and you're almost on his side then.
Yeah, I mean, and this is why the film's called Escape from Cannibal Farm, even though it's called just Cannibal Farm in the US, is because it is really about the characters escaping from this place. And that's not just the family in the cages. That includes Hansen and his, melted face son. Everyone's trying to escape, and that's actually what the film's about. It's not about cannibals. I kind of regret not putting cannibalism and stuff in there. Like, actually, I think maybe it would have been so much easier to just do a film where the family get to this farm, get put in the cages, loads of great gore, slicing off limbs, cannibalism, and then done. That would have been really easy. But this is 101 minutes that sort of segues into a kind of weird, campy family drama weird thing, but I was just experimenting. Like, the most important thing for me was to try something new and just see if it worked.
And you're right, there's not a lot of gory cannibalism. It's not that there's not gore, there's just not a lot of gory cannibalism, and it does touch on cannibalism, but almost in a creepier way with these elite members of society.
It makes you just wonder more, and like the illusion of it happening behind your back without you seeing it. The visual representation of just a cannibalistic family chopping people up, it might be more visually pleasing to a horror fan, but then the way that you portrayed it with this society of cannibals, of people that maybe around town, lawyers, whatever, secretly paying to eat people is almost just creepier.
Because we've seen cannibals 100 times, and I know that horror fans, we all love it, but why not try something different, see if it works?
Sure.
Exactly, and I think it did work. So I definitely recommend all you guys check this thing out. It's my type of movie. So if you like what I like, I think you'll love it. Yeah,
it is, for those of you listening in the US, it is available on Amazon right now. You can check it out. Cannibal Farm, coming out in the UK. Escape from Cannibal Farm.
And when's it releasing in the UK again?
It's on the 24th of September.
Okay. So that's coming up here in a couple of weeks.
And everyone keep your eyes open for the other films as well. I'm hoping that we might even be in talks with I forgot. I know I wasn't talking to you first. Was that like a producer or something? Yeah,
that's right. That's my publicist you were talking to.
Okay, yes. I think it might have been House of Violent Desires that we were talking about as well, possibly doing once that releases too.
Yeah.
So, and then it'd be awesome to catch the barge people as well. We might be talking to you again about all these. So
well, I'd be happy to come back and talk. Yeah,
that'd be great, Charlie.
Well, everyone, everyone, keep your eyes and ears open for all those titles, and especially go check this one out now on Amazon. And I think that's really all I had. It answered all my questions and fulfilled my curiosities. So unless you have anything else, Scotty? No, I think it's good. I thought it was a great interview, and I just love what you did with this movie, Charlie, and just made it your own, and still brought all of what we love in, and especially raw horror movies, just like this one. So I think I'm good too. All right, well, awesome. Thanks for joining us, Charlie. Thanks for having me. Yeah, of course, man. And we'll keep in touch, and we'll keep everyone updated on what you got going. Cool. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you as well. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Charlie. Speak soon. Bye-bye. Bye. Don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative. Oh, yes. There will be blood.